33 bones, 33 tones, 33 zones that are affected and changed by 33 effects. What's going on, my high vibrational expressions of God on earth? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 3360, 33. Today, we want to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify how they've used your bones, the 33 bones in your vertebrae or in your back, to change the fact that you are the vibrational equivalent of source. So there is an impact. There is a tone impact. There's a zone impact. Your job is to break free. So today we want to break down what I call the comparison trap, the perfectionist trap, and the victimhood trap that are encapsulated into the 33 bones. Because the body is a tuning fork. Your voice is your wand. Your environment is your mirror. Your job today is to understand how the ancients understood that there's 33 vertebrae that have 33 what we call mantras or frequencies or waves or vibrations. So the master key is the ability to rewrite your destiny or tune into your destiny by understanding that the 33 psychological effects that we'll be going through today. I don't know if we go through all 33, but they are inside of the book. All of these shows that we're doing are we're making the audio a part, obviously, of the Illumination series, but we're moving on to bigger and better things. This is all part of the 100K system. Each one of these are, $1,000, or you get all 1,000. Obviously, it's like a little bit less if you purchase it at the 25K mark, but that's another study for another time. Today, we want to talk about breaking the 33 chain. That is the soul's frequency. So the body is a tuning fork. Your voice is actually your wand. We've heard that before. Your voice is your wand. But your environment is your mirror. So your environment mirrors back to you the vibrational equivalent of you. It is the way by which you understand you, for lack of a better term. So we got to understand that these are the zones that are operated inside of the energy grid that's a part of the ley lines or the map in part of this world. So this world is not enforced by force or change. It's engineered through mind. These are the 33 mind programs. They're running beneath or below the threshold of your consciousness or your awareness. It is so from the perspective of understanding how power works. As we talked about before, we all influence frequencies, waves, verbs, and vibrations. Knowingly or unknowingly, we all influence the way by which the universe oscillates and vibrates. Now what we're doing is we are consciously engaging in this process. We're no longer leaving it up to chance. We could continue to leave this up to chance. But if you're here today, it's because you understand how the psychology of framing, which is nothing but how your brain establishes your lane. So the first thing that we have to understand is that psychology simply means that your mind engineers your mirror. Your mind engineers your mirror. Your mirror is the way by which you see this thing that we call the universe. So we don't see the universe as it is. We see the universe as we are. And so it's very, very important that we understand that each and every frequency, wave, and vibration that's listening to me right now, what you're tuning into is the way that I perceive the world, and that affects my bones. My bones then affects my tones. That's the tune. That's the way that I tune in. Cymatics. The vibration that is created from my 33 frequencies, waves, verbs, vibration. It is releasing a frequent. It's releasing something that is frequent. My job and your job is to make sure that what we frequently see, aka hear, aka notice, what we are conscious of. Your job is to be conscious of the fact that you are unconscious. And your job is to choose now to be conscious. By choosing to be conscious, you're going to identify the fact that you have not chosen to fly. It's self-evident. It's immediate. As soon as you choose, you will start to see, whoa, I'm not operating at the highest realm. So you're going to see immediately that the 33 vertebrae that's in your spine, the 33 bones that anchor you into this physical reality, it literally traps you through what we call learned behavior. So these are, everything that you're doing right now is learned. So this learned behavior is what I call contract. And we call the contract confirmation. So you have unknowingly, 99.99999% of the time, because you were voluntold. You did not volunteer. You were voluntold, and you signed a contract when you was a baby. So you didn't know what you was doing, but this is contract law. This is maritime law. You signed that contract by agreement. So it is a contract by confirmation. And by confirmation, I simply mean agreement. Now, you didn't know what you was agreeing to at the time because, you know, like me, you was a little cretin. You had no idea, and then we all got conned. We all got bamboozled. We all got manipulated into this mind effect, this con. We got bamboozled. We got tricked. And so now we have to untrick ourselves, so to speak. But it is difficult because you're already in it now. And so the fact that you are engaged in this mind trap that keeps you trapped in this dimension. And so we are at a low vibrational space or low vibrational place that doesn't allow us to operate. That is the world that we are living in right now as we speak. And the only way for you to get out is for you to cancel the contract. That's the first thing you got to do. First thing that we have to do right off the bat is you have to cancel the contract. It's very simple. You cancel the contract by your awareness of the contract. By becoming aware. Now you can say words to enforce it. But you say, I cancel any contract that I've knowingly or unknowingly signed, benevolently or non-benevolently, with any frequency, wave, verb, or vibration. That's it. You just cancel the contract. Now, you don't have to go through each one of these individually or specifically. You can, but it's not a requirement. Source code, under, over, and understand that this was done without your consent. You was born into maritime law. You was born into this blood code, these blood oaths, and these blood sacrifices. You were born into these blood orgies. Source code is aware. It's extremely important you get out of the guilt trip that makes you think that you are born dirty or sinner or destitute. You have to remove that field. You got to get back into the seraphim, the highest field. Suffer not the little children to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. You are pure. You are light. Now, you may have changed your tone because of the psychological effects. Now you're in a different zone. After today's message, you will be able to return back to the zone of your reality, the zone that source code called and gifted you to be in. Let me switch over my mics really quickly, but it take me just a second as I flip over. So give me one moment. All right, so make sure that is on correctly. Testing. All right, we're good to go. Let's continue. So, as I mentioned, or as I was saying earlier, this is extremely important because the thing that really, out of everything that we talk about, the psychological effects of, we could say Willie Lynch, even though that's not one of the big three, the big 33. But it is one of the effects. Willie Lynch, the psychological effects of Willie Lynch and what that does to the brain, that also causes toxic shame. So the enemy works on shame. So I gotta make you feel ashamed. I gotta make you feel like you did something wrong. I gotta make you feel like it's your fault. The goal is to shame you or to guilt you. Because those are the only way to trap you is through shame and through guilt. If you look at all rely-on systems, they all are based upon shame and guilt. I got to make you feel like a victim. I got to make you feel dirty. I got to make you feel like you did something wrong from birth. That is the only way to keep you trapped, to keep you stuck. Your body is a tuning fork. Your voice is a wand. Your environment is a mirror. It's extremely important that you understand that your environment is, that you are oscillating and that you are vibrating in a low vibrational frequency. Once you are able to understand that you are not in the seraphim realm, that your body that's getting its instructions from your voice, your thoughts, not necessarily what is spoken, then you can see how you think yourself into a 33 chained Jude 6. Jude only has one chapter. And so you can see that the world that we live in, your body is now trapped in this world. You're chained. Your soul's frequency is chained. But you are the architect of the chain. You're also the architect of the transmutation to exit out of the psychological effects. So it's done unto you as you believe. But it's all done by confirmation. Confirmation bias compresses the vertebrae, causes a restriction in your energetic flow. Confirmation. You confirm again by your failure to reject. When you fail to reject, to consciously reject. The fact of not saying anything is agreement. You don't have to forcibly agree with it, but you must consciously be aware of it and reject the tone. This is sacred acoustics. These are acoustics of sacred geometry, for lack of a better term. Is how the frequencies inside of the body is established through self-doubt, through guilt, and through shame. That flattens your voice's resonance. It turns off your chakras and it reverses your spin. This is called catastrophizing. It's siphoning. The way that I siphon you or siphon your energy or your inner chi is I got to get you to experience a catastrophe. For me to be able to siphon your inner chi, I got to get you to experience or feel like something is a catastrophe. It doesn't work unless you believe that this is a catastrophe in order for you to siphon, in order for it to work. And so it is through this catastrophe that I'm able to siphon your chi, to dumb you down to a low vibrational state. But you didn't choose this. You inherited it. The sins of the fathers passed out. This influence creates the program creates the manipulation. So bones are tones that establish spiritual zones. It's extremely important, brothers and sisters, that we over and understand that bones are zones that establish what we call spiritual tones. Because when you get to this level of awareness, it totally changes the game. So now we're able to turn the light. Because what they did is they took the light and turned it into software. And so it's very interesting because when you transition, you go where you don't go where you designed. You go where you aligned. Same thing that happens when you transition. Look at the word. When there is a physical transition, it follows a mental transition. When someone that is not of the accountable age transitions, they are pure beings. They have not been influenced, programmed, or manipulated, so their bones still have the original tone, so they go back to the spiritual zone. So the only way for me to get you to be initialized is that you got to be categorized through a catastrophe. A catastrophe is the only way to siphon your chi. You will notice how many times your chi has been siphoned by how many times you've experienced a catastrophe. A catastrophe is when you are emotionally overwhelmed because of the zone, the geographical energy grid that siphons your chi from the inside out is a trap based upon the contract of the sacred acoustic alignment with your God-given assignment. But it doesn't work until I flatten your chi. You're too powerful. You got too much frequency, too many waves, too many verbs, too many vibrations. You are too animated. You are too amplified. You are too awakened. So I have to swindle, manipulate, and get you into a contract by confirmation or agreement. Through the contract. Now remember, this happens to you when you was a kid before the age of 13. You get trapped into learned helplessness. Negro, you got to learn how to be helpless. You wasn't born helpless. You was born with creative power. You could imagine yourself. You guys remember you used to play Batman and Robin and cowboys and Indians? You used to run around and you could imagine yourself flying in. You put on, if you like me, you would get I get one of my mom's pillowcases off the clothesline and get a clothes hanger. put it on my back, and I was Superman. I was sliding around, jumping out of trees. I could imagine it. Then, boy, put that pillowcase back on my clothes. Stop doing this. Get out of that tree. Stop. And you just said, and they kept dumbing you down because your body is a tuning fork. Your voice is the wand, but your environment mirrors the voice. So you are trapped. Your soul's frequency has been dumbed down by confirmation. So we all suffer from confirmation bias. So all you're doing right now is you're just confirming what your mom and dad, your reverends, your doctors, and your bishops, and your religion has confirmed for you. That's the mind bias. That no matter how much teaching and how much we talk and how many shows I do, the cost is garbage. $100,000 is peanuts. The fact that you believe that $100,000 is a lot of money is why it's a lot of money. That's why I price my shit as high as I do. And I got to get you out of your spiritual amnesia. Your spleen is probably worth that much. Your spine, and you are so fearfully and wonderfully made. The 33 psychological effects that interfere with the 33 bones, that interfere with the 33 tones, that interfere with the 33 zones. If you take the B, the T, and the Z, you have the word O-N-E. Bones, you remove the B, one. Hero is the Lord your God. This is the Trinity of one. Tones, get rid of the T, you got the word O-N-E. Zone, get rid of the Z, you got the word O-N-E. Hero is the Lord your God is one. We're talking about one frequency, one wave, one verb, one vibration that is manipulated into 33 essences. What are the 33 essences? Well, the spine at the top, you have what they call the principle of one. At the very top, the principle of one, which is the principle of 33, which is why I get the MT33. Now MT360. So now I'm completing all of the different degrees. 33, 33, 33. That still gives us what? 9. So the 360 is the same as saying 369. So I could go with MT369 or MT360. That's the same frequency. That's the highest level. That's the seraphim level that we mentioned earlier. Next, we have number 32, which is grace. 31 is faith. 30 is forgiveness. 29 is enlightenment or enjoyment. 28 is wisdom. 27 is peace. 26 is what we call assignment. 25 is manifestation. 24 is creation. 23 is knowledge. 22 is clarity. 21 is abundance. 20 is what is called mastery. 19 is the kundalini and the kunda buffer. 18 is freedom. 17 is harmony. 16 is similarities. 15 is polarity. 14 is yin. 13 is yang. 12 is connectivity. 11 is transmutation. 9 is soul. 8 is time. 7 is divinity. 6 is vision. 5 is adventure or expression. 4 is stability. 3 is creativity. 2 is peaceful. 1 is awareness. And so that gives us the 33 tones that establish the 33 zones. You are supposed to be embodying all of those emotions. So what I just read, all of this is in the book. That comes with again, every show that we're doing from now until I leave this planet, each show is $1,000 off the rip, accompanied with all the audios and all the stuff. And again, it's the $25K on sale right now. Regular sales for $100K. Now you should be saying, Doc, that's a lot of money. That's peanuts. The fact that you think it's a lot of money, that's why it's a lot of money. So the next question is, where do we get it from? You get the money from the fact that you are money. So you don't make money, you are money. What does that mean? Because what is money? Money is a frequency. It's a wave. It's what you frequently see. What do you frequently see? Right now, you frequently see poverty. I mean, not you personally, but people, What do I mean you see frequently? You see problems. Because remember what we said at the beginning of the show. You are unconsciously programmed, just like me, to scan your environment for trouble. Because you grew up in the hood, or mentally you was in the hood. Remember, people who grew up in very, very affluent, they scan for what? How to keep money, how to get money, how to make money. Because their mom and dad got money, they don't got the money. When you're a kid and you grow up in an affluent environment, you ask your mom and dad for money. They give you money. Then you get to a point where you're like the Melendez brothers. Because no matter how much money they give you, you always want more. Remember, this is how the trick works. How does it work? We are creatures of destination. We're not creatures of addiction. We're creatures, we got to go somewhere. We're always going. We never arrive. So no matter how much money you make, it ain't enough. You always want more. No matter how much money you get, it's like everything. Sex, everything is the same. Because you are designed to guess until you get to the point to realize that's a psychological effect that interferes with what we talked about earlier today, which is the seraphim level of a serenity, peace, and tenacity. Whoop ass take names. But we can't because we're not in peace. We're at war with ourselves. There is disharmony. Why? Because if you notice those 33 emotions that I just stated, none of them have anything to do with the frequency of what we call the flesh. We talk about forgiveness, we talk about grace, we talk about happiness, talk about abundance, we talk about mastery, transmutation, time, space. All of those are the frequencies, waves, and vibrations that you should be oscillating and vibrating in. Okay, so what's the problem, Doc? Well, the problem is there are literally 5, because of the way that that's, again, it's just 3, because the spinal cord is broken down into 3 sections. You got the above, you got the mid, you got the tailbone or the lower spinal cord. So if we just look at it the way that pyramids are set up, you got 3 major pyramids. This is the master key for rewriting your destiny, because it's a frequency, which is a song that you sing. It's a vibration. So the 33 bones symbolize the foundational structure that influences your mental patterns and your choices. These are the 33 psychological effects that interfere with the thread that creates the loom that we talked about earlier today that gives you access to the seraphim realm. So the 33 tones represents consciousness that alters the life's direction. So these are zones. Each zone unlocks a hidden pathway that allows you to break free from the mental trap of your own self-limiting belief systems. So you are limiting your own self because of your own beliefs. So as we said at the beginning of the show, very, very important. Everybody starts with a destiny. You're born with it. It's in your DNA. It never goes nowhere. So what I got to do is your bones are vibrating. That creates a certain frequency. And again, we call it a tone. That tone allows you to operate according to a certain motivated abilities pattern. That's a zone. So zones are maps that intuitively tell you where to go. So something catastrophic has to happen that creates shame and guilt. I got to get you before you turn 13. Because once you turn 13, the accountable age, some say 8, some say 12, whatever, doesn't matter. You get to a certain age where you become aware. You are spiritually accountable for your own selves. Well, before that happens, I got to do 3 things. The bones are divided into 3 areas. Number 1 is called the comparison trap. So when you're a child, I'm going to get you to compare yourself like I did. When I was a little kid, I'd come home and I'd say, hey, we got hand-me-downs. Then I went to school. Now my buddies was like, they would be laughing at us. On Easter Sunday, we didn't have no new suits. I had my brother's suit that he wore last time, and people knew it. So back then, when I was a kid, Wieners was big. Everybody used to go to Wieners. You know, and they would buy clothes. So I would compare myself. I would go to school, I'd come home, and I'd say, hey, Daddy wasn't no. I was like, Mama, and I noticed also, everybody else had electricity. I would go to my friend's house, they had running water. I had a cousin, he was the only child. Kind of sad, I remember when he committed suicide. He was always alone. I used to always spend the night over his house. His name was Sammy. I used to love to go over there because his mom and my dad were brothers and sisters. And Carolyn, I used to go over there. Man, they had food. His dad used to work for Frito-Lay. And when the food or the snacks would expire, he would bring them home. I mean, he would have like his back of his truck would just be full of snacks. Remember, we grew up very poor. Man, I used to go to Sammy's, my first cousin's house. My little stomach would be so round I got home. My mom would be pissed because all I did was eat, because mainly it was junk food. But hey, I was happy because it was food, at least in my brain. When I compared myself, I said, Mama, hey, why can we like Sammy? His dad had a job. He had a mommy and a daddy. They had electricity. They had running water. He had his own room. There was 13 of us packed in there like freaking sardines. So the first trick to change you from happy-go-lucky, innocent, pure, sweet, loving, kind, gentle, suffer not the little children, just come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. I got to get you out of heaven. I cannot allow you to grow up and have a mind of a child where you playful, you happy, cracking jokes, you living, regardless of your circumstances and your situation. This is the number one problem I have with everybody that I know. People hate when you happy, because they ain't happy. It ain't their fault. They don't know, not you, of course, but other people we're talking about. Comparison. The comparison, I can see it because when people are in a comparison, the spinal cord collapses. Osteoporosis is the number one sign that somebody has lived their life comparing themselves to somebody else. You can tell it because the person has slumped shoulders. Remember, everything that's going on spiritually, I can identify spiritually. Meaning, like, if you notice, the only problems I ever have is with my throat and with my teeth. What does that mean? Suppressed purpose. If you suppress your voice, out of respect for my wife and her mother and her father, I suppress, and my siblings, and even some of you have vibrational expressions of God on earth. So, Brother Jibber, I can no longer suppress my voice. I can no longer talk in circles. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I have to express. If I don't, that shit shows up in my voice. My throat chakra gets attacked because I'm not expressing my voice. And my teeth, because your teeth vibrate. And your teeth are connected to your organs. So I've always had tooth and teeth. When you got teeth problems, you got voice problems. That means the shit that you're supposed to be saying, you ain't saying it. You're talking about somebody else's program. Maybe instead of talking about your own. Not you personally, but you can tell by what's going on in your environment, what's going on in your body, because what's going on in your suppression. No tone, no zone. Because there is no bone. Because of the psychological effects. So number one, comparison trap. Number two, it's a big one, especially if you're 6. Dr. Span, you tuning in? The perfection trap. You're 6. Sister Coleman, you know what I'm talking about. Sister Mika, you know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to think, who else is a 6? So what 6s do? Well, another thing, it manifests where? In your jaw. The impact on the bones, it creates what they call a TMU disorder in your jawbone. Because perfectionism is a paralysis of analysis. It simply means that you are holding back because you're waiting for shit to get perfect. Nigga, it ain't never perfect. Start today. You ain't started, start today. I don't know what to start. Okay, just whatever first thing comes to your mind. What are you doing today? Whatever you do, okay, you should be talking about that. You should be writing a book about that. If you're cooking for the kids, hey, you should be talking about. You should be doing a video on how to cook for my children. If you're doing laundry, you should do a YouTube video on why you're doing the laundry. You should be doing a TikTok video while you're doing the laundry. I separate the whites from the colors because if you put bleach in the color, it bleeds over, blah, blah, blah. I add this detergent. Why you using that detergent? Okay, it's kid-friendly. It has skin sensitivity. Or maybe you make your own detergent. What do you do? Because right now you're thinking that you don't have a product that sells information. You are the product. You are the service, your information. Did you brush your teeth this morning? You should have did a video on brushing your teeth. Did you comb your hair? Did you wash your ass? Whatever. What did you do this morning? Whatever you did, whatever you're doing, you should be talking about it. But you're waiting. Why are you waiting? Because you don't believe in yourself. Not you personally, but people you don't. Why? Psychological effects of Willie Lipton. Number 3, remember, this is the big 3 that breaks down to 33. Either you are in the comparison zone, fucking up your bones. You are in the perfectionist zone. Again, messing up your bones. That puts you in a different zone. You're supposed to be in the zone of wealth, health, wisdom, and getting your toes curled. But number 3 is the victimhood. Instead of victorious, you're a victim. I like this one. Victim is always manifested in root chakra blockage. You can tell people who are victim because they always have root chakra problems. Usually they got stomach issues or they got pelvic misalignment. Pelvic misalignment simply means you missed your assignment. Victimhood, I've never had a problem with this one, thank God, but it manifests because you see people, they have acid indigestion, blah, 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 because the bone, the tone, and the zone. And all of these, you simply get out by saying, I reclaim my power, I cancel every contract. That's it. You stop and you remove the root chakra blockage by identifying whether you know the exact name of the psychological trap. That really doesn't matter. That's not important. What matters and what's important is for you to identify the fact that you're not inside of the highest vibrational frequency zone. That's the seraphim field. You're just going back to source. And so you're able to break free by reclaiming your power. Okay, now let's go through a few. Can't go through all of them, but let's go through a few of these 33 psychological frequencies, waves of vibrations that are prohibiting you from oscillating and vibrating at the highest realm. One of the first sections is what is called the bystander effect. Now, this one is huge because as a bystander, the bystander psychology, the psychological effect of operating as a bystander, is like the word says. You are standing by. You wait for others to act because you assume someone else will. It's not that you believe that they're more powerful than you. It's that you really believe that somebody else is going to do it, so why should you? The bystander effect. This is, again, these are all part of the psychological programming that prohibits you from oscillating and vibrating at the highest level of the game. After the psychological effect, another one is, or the bystander effect, is one called the cheerleader effect. I like this because like it sounds, cheerleader. So if you're a cheerleader, think about cheerleaders in high school. What do? They get together and they root people on, right? So do you want to be a cheerleader in somebody else's life, or do you want to be a leader in your own life? So cheerleader is like, okay, you following other influences instead of your own internal compass. Each one of these affects a specific vertebrae in your spinal cord. Now, we don't have to worry about the specific aspects of the vertebrae. Your job is to over and understand that the bystander effect, the cheerleader effect. Number 3 is the false consensus effect. A false consensus means that you believe everyone thinks just like you. The false consensus effect is huge because we believe, like for example, there are people who believe that everybody loves the way that they love. When in reality, nobody loves the way that you love. Nobody. And it's very, very, very important that you over and understand that nobody loves the way that you love. Nobody does anything the way that you do. Which takes us to number 4, which is called pluralistic ignorance. Everyone disagrees inwardly but pretends that they go along outwardly. It's called social compliance. Because social compliance kills authentic thinking. Social compliance kills authentic thinking. That has to resonate. Because the dominant sister used pluralistic ignorance. Because we think that even though I may disagree inwardly, but I do this all the time, I disagree inwardly, but in social settings, I appear to agree. It's social compliance while maintaining internal disagreement. Pluralistic ignorance. Number 5 is huge because number 5 is the imposter syndrome. We all know that one. So you're more powerful than you believe, but your program convinces you that you are. When you say that I am a gazillionaire, or whatever word, frequency, wave, verbal vibration that you say to yourselves or to yourself, do you honestly believe that? Or are you just saying that? And so most people, they just say it, they don't necessarily believe it. We actually believe that we are an imposter in our own life. It's kind of wild, right? Like, you actually think that, because remember, we scan, hypervigilance. But if you're not keeping on, 99.9999999% of us, we scan our environment for threats. We don't scan our environment to thrive. We scan our environment so that we can survive. I want to identify the threat. I'm driving my car. I want to identify, man, if somebody's trying to carjack me, if I go to the store, hey, I'm scanning. If I park my vehicle late at night, I'm looking around, making sure nobody, trying to catch me slipping. I'm not scanning my environment, looking around to see if somebody want to come and write me a check. It is what it is. It ain't bad, not good. It just is. So my job and your job is to over, and understand this is how the you and I verse works. So when you realize that we can be an imposter in our own life, man, that one is really, really huge. Just to think that there is a way of thinking that you disown yourself before you even get started. It's just another way of saying how we think or that we don't believe that we deserve. That one was huge for me. I always make sure that I'm scanning to make sure that I'm in a space where I realize that I deserve to be happy. That was hard. You deserve to be happy. Because there's some people in your life, they don't think you should be. They believe you should be suffering. They don't think you deserve to be happy. Which takes us to number 6 of the 33, cognitive dissonance. We've all heard that one. Well, no matter what you hear, somebody can bring you to the truth, and if that truth conflicts with what you've already been taught, you ain't going to accept it. You ain't going to research it. You ain't going to examine it. You're just going to reject, just automatically reject, 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 because of cognitive dissonance. We also mentioned framing. We talked about the framing effect. We know that you can only see what's inside of the frame. Like when you look at a picture, you can only see what's inside of the picture. Nothing else. You cannot see any of the other things that are outside of the picture. They exist, but you can only see what's inside of the frame. The next is what is called the the recent or the premise effect. It simply means that you remember the first and last things only. You guys know I learned that in college. I learned that when you study, it's better to study in short bursts. So psychologically, it's important to understand how the programming takes place. I get your attention with something that's very powerful. I lure you to sleep with a long narrative. And then I end with a cliffhanger at the very end to be continued. So when they do these long, that's why you see on Netflix and Amazon Prime, there's a bunch of series. They don't really make movies anymore. There's a lot of series because the series tie up your time. And the way they do that is by understanding, okay, the brain works by the first and the last thing. It forgets everything in the middle. So I put something very, very important at the beginning, something very, very important at the end. What goes on in the middle, most people don't remember. That's why I usually try to end on what I call the smoking gun. So I try to have something that holds you because you remember, it's important for you to understand how they are getting you out of wealth, health, wisdom, and great relationships. Keep you coming back to poverty by using number 9, what they call the Stroop, S-T-R-O-P effect, like stoop, but Stroop. It means words and meanings conflict. So I'm just going to use another word for saying this is what they call doublespeak. Doublespeak is just another way of saying that, okay, I'm going to say something, but it means something else. There's a lot of words, again, that you say, but it means something else. And so you got to be very aware of the definitions, because I'm an etymologist. So that really doesn't affect me psychologically as much as it does a lot of other people. Because I define the meaning of my own word. I make that a point to make sure that I define my own meaning. Another one is what they call the spotlight effect, where you overestimate how much others notice you. Again, these are all of the things that affect your bones. These effects on the bones affect the vibration that's being released by the bone. That's called a tone. So that establishes a different frame, or that's called a zone. So you're not operating with the proper frame of reference or zone because you're receiving the wrong frequency or tone because the psychological effects are manipulating your bone. After the spotlight effect, again, I'm just skipping down and going through, highlighting some of the main ones. All 33 is inside of the book. And along with this audio and a couple of other audios that I've already done that accompany this series, is number 13 is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your beliefs create your reality. So if you believe you're doomed, and most people do, guess what happens? Bam! You're doomed. But notice how your doomedness, how you got doomed. It's very, very interesting that when we look at, for me especially, the thing that blows me away every time I go through these 33 lists, and I first really, really got into it and started breaking this down. Now remember, this list could be a lot longer. But what I wanted to do was, I had to connect how this list connected to my spinal cord. The spinal cord is your spinal antenna. The spinal cord is how you tune in to God or source. God, for lack of a better term, is like a constellation. God is always sending frequencies, waves, verbs, vibes, or vibrations. The quest that we are embarking upon today, are you tuned in? Can you pick up what source code is always sending? The spinal cord is your spiritual antenna. So I must, if I'm the bad guy, I must manipulate your spiritual antenna because the spinal cord then tunes into your DNA, which is also a fractal antenna. So all of these everything is designed for you to shine. So how come everybody's not shining? Somebody manipulating the design. Because you are automatically. So in other words, this is no effort. You just wake up and breathe. And wealth it just oozes out of you. So if it's not oozing out of you right now automatically, somebody got conned. Somebody got manipulated. Somebody got bamboozled. So now we've got to look at what degree of bamboozlement have you been bamboozled? How bamboozled are you? Well, as I'm revealing, explaining, illuminating, simplifying, and I'm personally finding out that us Alkithodons especially, we've drunk the purple, red, green, blue. We just love Kool-Aid. Not only, physically, but spiritually. We just drinking everybody's Kool-Aid. I mean, we are lapping it up. It is so easy because of the lack of understanding how the spinal cord works. And so when you over and understand that the spinal cord works because it's a tuning fork. You tune it in to source. But if I can get you to tune into like a self-fulfilling prophecy, as I mentioned, the spotlight effect or the endowment effect, where the endowment, like privilege, similar to the overconfident effect. The endowment means you overvalue what you already have or own. It is a false belief. The overconfident effect is that you think you know more than you know. Endowment, what you have. Overconfident, what you know. So the enemy uses all of these psychological tricks, like silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. But the enemy, which is your ego, which is the lower self. Now the lower self, in its defense, it's doing what it thinks is right. It's like, we got to survive, man. It's hard out here for a pimp. So your lower self believes that it's doing, the reticular activating system, the lower self says, man, we got to stay alive, homie. It's hard out here. So it's really doing what it thinks is right, like the well-traveled road effect. The well-traveled road effect means we believe familiar paths are stronger, safer, and easier. So we believe that I've been down this path before. Therefore, it must be shorter. It must be safer. It must be easier. But it's just a well-traveled path. It is a familiar spirit. But it may not be the best path for you. It may work for your mom and your dad, your reverend, the doctor, the bishop, but it may not be for you. So the well-traveled path is a psychological strategy to affect your bones so that they don't vibrate at the highest seraphim tone, so that you don't live in God's designed zone for you. The golem, a golem is like, a golem is weird because it's something that's like a man-made entity, but it doesn't have a soul. So the golem, G-O-L-E-M effect, is a psychological effect where your expectations are so low that you manifest them all the time. So you are a manifesting guru, but you broke. It's this expectation. But the expectation, and everything is great, it's just that you're shooting for the valley instead of shooting for the mountaintop. And you're happy, being unhappy, because you're manifesting. But you're manifesting at a golem or a goyim level. You're not manifesting at the source code level. And it's wild to see it in action. Because if we don't really understand Golem, because it's a Jewish term that means a fake or clay figure that is brought to life by magic. It's like a tulpa, which is again the tulpa effect. Now, a tulpa is a mental figure that is brought to life by magic. Magic, again, is putting energy into it. Magic is the ability to influence the flow of electricity and magnetism. Magic is the ability to influence the flow of the electrical magnetic spectrum. Everybody does magic every single day. It's not mystical. It's not spookism. If we just believe it because we don't really understand it, but it's just... Okay, baby. Okay. All right. The wife was letting me know she's getting ready to head out. So it's very, very important, you guys and gals and guys, high vibrational expressions of God on earth, that you and I are both over and understand that these psychological effects, they're just designed to trip us up. I don't want to over glorify the dark side. It's not necessarily dark, because I have used all of these to actually take what the devil meant for evil and turn it around and use it for good. Because now, when you get to this level of the game, you can say, okay, these are psychological tools. And the purpose of these psychological tools is for me to not operate inside of what we call I'm going to use the word emotional scale. Everybody has a certain emotional intelligence and emotional capacity. Now, your emotional capacity is your ability to enter, over, and understand. You got to, having done all, stand. You're not supposed to be running around, bro. You're not supposed to be running around, so you're supposed to stand. You're supposed to be still and know. Can you encompass the ability to tolerate emotional discomfort and regulate your emotional response, regardless of the emotional information that's impacting your soul? Do you have that ability to control your emotional awareness, emotional regulation? Can you regulate your emotional state? That is the purpose for the bone tone zone. Drop the B, T, and the Z. You have the word one. You are here to be the vibrational equivalent of God on earth. Could you imagine that if everybody today decide, I am going to be the emotional equivalent of God on earth. I'm not going to believe in it. I'm not going to expect somebody else to be it. I am going to take it upon myself to be the vibrational or the emotional equivalent of God on earth. By making that statement, what you are knowingly or unknowingly saying is, I cancel every contract with every emotional state. And the 33 segments of my spiritual column that are the vibrational equivalent of Jacob's ladder inside of the Helios Biblios. These 33 segments of the spiritual column, just like the 33 bones, or just like in Jacob's ladder, they represent the oil of Christ, that is inside of the Christ lunar germ seed oil in a spinal fluid inside of the cerebral spinal cord fluid. That 33 quarts, 33 gallons of oil in the spinal cord is called the Kundalini and the Kuna buffer energy. But it is CSF, cerebral spinal cord. It is the oil of Christos. It activates the 7, some say 9, some say 12 chakras that reach up to the third eye, the pineal. Jacob wrestled with God, and the place that he wrestled with God is called pineal. So when the oil reaches the place of the skull or Golgotha, it is crucified or amplified to increase its power so that it can rise the last 33 degrees from the base of the skull to the pineal gland. The pineal gland then connects to the cerebellum and the optic thalamus, where the third eye becomes illuminated. That's the gateway to God, or the throne of God. That is the chamber where the eye becomes single. If thine eye be single, this is our Father which art in heaven. Hallowed would be thy name. Hallowed is the curvature of the optic thalamus, which is called the Most High. This is the temple of the living God inside the human brain, which is achieved when you are in a higher state of consciousness, where you become in the enlightenment, where your ment becomes the light in. Enlightenment, mint, light in. You, my brother. And so this is a biological processes that takes place when you activate the 33 bones, that activates the 33 tones, so that we can occupy the 33 zones. That is when your body becomes the temple of the living God. Because you have achieved a higher state of consciousness. Because you've overcome the 33 psychological traps that don't allow you to be. So the number 33 is a very, very significant number because it holds deep esoteric meaning. That's why Jesus was crucified, supposedly, when he was 33 years old, and then it was done, and it happened during, 33 AD. Supposedly he performed 33 miracles. 33 represents, remember, water freezes at what? 32. The next boils at 33. So when we look at that other text, 33 deities inside of the Vedic and text Buddhism, there's a 33 degrees in which all points of the universe collide. We look at the 33rd parallel, again, in Freemasonry, 33 degrees, blah, blah, blah. In the Bible, the word Elohim appears 33 times in the opening chapter of Genesis. In the Islamic faith, the number 33 represents the Star of David. And we can go on and on, because 33 in numerology represents, again, the master number. So this number 33 has a very significant representation to all of the occult community or communities. The point, my brothers, the point, my sisters, is for you to understand that the body is the tuning fork. And the way by which it is tuned is through these 33 frequencies, waves, verbs, and vibrations. But the way that it is held back is by the 33 psychological effects that creates what is called the ziggurat of Ur, or the ziggurat of the Babylonians, because it prevents Jacob from going up and down the ladder. So all of these references have to do with the spinal cord, and how your spinal cord, again, represents or is symbolic for the 33 vertebrae that activates the temple. But once again, they are all being intercepted, or it is being intercepted, by 33 by these psychological effects. Now, a couple of them before we wrap this up that I have to mention because of, remember, we could talk about more. I took out the 33 that are the most significant based upon all of the research, though, the ones that, trip up the people, most people the most. But we got to really, really keep in mind that, man, when we talk about the fact that everybody is affected a little bit different based upon their heritage, their environment, and so on and so forth. Another one is called the sunk cost fallacy effect. S-U-N-K, what cost, C-O-S-T, is in fallacy effect. It simply means that you're staying stuck just because you've invested so much time, so much energy, so much belief into that system of thought that your soul, you really don't care. These last three are, again, really, 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 really tough because it's so rapid. I think about not only myself, but family, friends, because we've invested so much time and so much energy, even though we're going the wrong way, even though it doesn't work, but it's tradition. Your grandmother did it, your grandfather did it, they believe this. So it's like, you stuck. You know it doesn't work. You know you're going the wrong way. But you just continue to play. Even though you justify it in your brain, like I do. You say, well, it's for my family, it's for my friends. I'm just going along to get along, whatever. We all got different frequencies, waves, verbs, and vibrations that we use to, justify our behavior. And they are always valid. Remember, the enemy never offers you something that is it's not a touchstone for you. In other words, everything that we do, as I've mentioned earlier today, the difference between a spiritual scientist and a spiritual religious person. If a spiritual scientist wakes up every day and he challenges his belief system, a spiritual religious person works up every day and they validate their belief system. Challenge, validate, question, or accept. Only you can answer that question whether you're a spiritual scientist or a religious nut job. Either one, hey, ain't bad, ain't good, just is. The ability to question the nature of your reality. Why? It should be able to stand scrutiny, whatever it is. You should welcome all comers. I got my 100K reward out there to the Negro or the non-Negro that can prove me wrong. I've been saying it for 30 years. Nobody proved me wrong yet, Brother Jibbiday. Because it is cosmological, theological, biological. So it's very, very important because the sunken or the sunk cost fallacy is costing you success. You can't move forward if you continue. You can't put new wine in an old wineskin. If you're holding on to a $1 bill and your fist is balled up and it's closed tight because you're holding on to that $1, and I'm trying to give you 100. You have to open up your fist, let the $1 drop, let go, and I can put the 100 in. Sunk cost fallacy is huge. Because if we just make it okay. I know I'm stuck. But I've been stuck for 30 years. So I'm just going to stay stuck. That one, huge. Number 2 of my big 3. Number 1, you just stay stuck because you've been stuck so long. Bump it. The ascension avoidance effect on your spinal cord. Remember, these 3, the big 3, they suppress. The ascension avoidance simply means that you delay spiritual work by intellectualizing it. In other words, everything is a debate. Everything is a debate. I love, like I said, I enjoy destroying Negroes' theology. Sometimes I enjoy destroying spiritual intellectualizing individuals with my level of enlightenment that it prevents ascension. So especially if you are 33, if you're born in September, or if you are 7, be careful because you're an intellectual guru. Right, Brother Jibide? But you know what I'm talking about. So you are intellectually superior. You know it. They know it. They're going to talk to you anyway. Somebody's going to know in debate. But you spend so much time intellectualizing. You have no time to design and climb. Be cautious, my friend. Remember, these are the 3 that cost me from going within. Where I'm at, I should have been here 30 years ago. But because I spent so much time in religion, I've invested so much money. I'm like, man, might as well stay in it, Brother Jibide. Been here this long, bro. Next, because of my intellectual, the gift of knowledge, which is the curse of knowledge, we didn't even touch that one. We don't want to touch that one. That's a whole course by itself. I'm saying that one. That psychological, that one, yeah, it gets its own program. The curse of knowledge, the curse of understanding. What? Oh yeah, that's a granddaddy. We can't decode that on this one. That gets a whole other show. The curse of knowing too much. You so intellectual. Not you personally, people we know. The curse of knowledge and spiritual insight. Number 2, you are so intellectual. You are so intuitive. You have the gift of discernment. You know shizness that most people ain't even begin to discuss. You could talk circles around the average Negro. But unfortunately, you don't grow. We are so busy intellectualizing and philosophizing and patronizing that by the time you wake up, nigga, you're going to be 60 years old. You ain't busted great. I ain't read that shit in no book. Real life, Brother Jimmy. Be careful, brothers and sisters, of philosophizing and intellectualizing because Negroes love to talk. Oh, we ain't going to bust a grape, but we'll talk all day. Again, I ain't talking about something I read of a book. Number 3, again, I'm talking about the psychological effects that kept me trapped for 30 plus. I was already in it, so I was like, yeah. Then I became a philosophizer. But then number 3, the psychological effects of the flea effect. Anybody heard of the flea effect? Number 3 keeps you from being. This is all part of the 33, but these 3. These 3 will fuck up your chi. The psychological effect of not Willie Lynch. The psychological effect of the flea. Y'all heard the story where he puts a bunch of fleas in a jar. Fleas, they all jump out. Put the fleas back in the jar. This time put a lid on the jar. Fleas jump. They hit that lid, ding. Come back down, leg go back up, ding. They keep doing that, Brother Jimmy, for about an hour. After that, the fleas only jump to the height of where the lid is. And then when the fleas mate and have little fleas, the new fleas are born with a a predetermined height. They don't even try, Brother Jimmy. They don't even try to jump out the jar. So take the lid off. Them fleas ain't going nowhere. They programmed for failure. Learn helplessness. Learn hopelessness. Learn poverty. Learn sickness. We don't eat for nutrition. We eat for emotion. We are emotional eaters. I mean, not you personally, but people we all know. That business is learned. Who taught you that, dog? You just doing it with my mama. Mama's mama did it, so, must be good for my ancestors. My mother praised them. I'm going to do it too. The flea effect. The psychological effect of flea. Somebody else did it, so you're just doing it too. You don't wake up and question the nature of your reality. You wake up and you validate the nature of your reality. Not you personally, bruh. People you know. People we all know, Brother Jibba, that's what they do, bruh. They wake up and they validate. Every Negro, that's what they do. Brother praise him, brother. And they just quoting something that somebody else is quoting. Negro, as you research, do you understand the esoteric meaning of that? What is the etymology of that term, bruh? Who wrote that first? Nah, we are fleas. I mean, not us. The other people that we know. The psychological effect of the flea doesn't allow you to be. So the smoking gun, it's like in that movie where old boy was in that sunken chair. Yeah, I forgot the name of that one, but anyway. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. He was there with the dominant culture. He was the only keeping on in there. He had his behind in there. In the sunken place. How many of y'all Negroes in that sunken place? Yeah, I've been there too, bro. I'm not sitting up here judging. I spent 30 years in a sunken place. How y'all think I know what I'm talking about? You just there because you've been there. Number one. When I talk to an Alkebalon, I'm talking to somebody that's believed because they've always believed. They never question it. They just believe it. That's number one. Something called fallacy. Number two, ascension avoidance. You really don't want to ascend. You really don't want to go within. You want to philosophize and intellectualize. Why? That makes you feel. What you feel, bro? You feel like the man. So you're getting paid on philosophizing and intellectualizing. But you're broke. Not you personally, but you know. Remember, there's 7 forms of wealth. One of the forms of wealth is dopamine. I know a bunch of Negroes that are paper broke, but dopamine rich. But you made that preach right there, bro. Paper broke, but dopamine rich. Don't be one of them. Number 3, it's a big one. Don't fall for the rokie dope. Don't be a flea. You tried it and it failed. 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 Now you don't even try no more. You just wake up every morning. You got your little routine down. Wake up, get your coffee. You know what I'm saying? Maybe get a little exorcism, a little exercise. If not, just go sit in the back porch. Count the cars as they go by. Y'all know how we do. So brothers and sisters, it's always an honor and a privilege to be able to break bread with you today. These are the 33 effects. These 33 effects, they affect your bones. Your bones are literally vibrational tones that hold you together. Those tones create specific zones of influence and connectivity with source or the big G. Obviously, it goes a whole lot deeper. This is just the introduction to the book and the series. Again, cost is $1K or $9.99 for the book and the entire series. But make sure you understand that your spinal cord is your spiritual antenna. This is how you tune in to source. In order for you to tune in, you have to go within. The only way to win is if you go within. Love you. Appreciate you. Thank God for you. We'll see you for class number 3 later on tonight. God bless.